Fallout 76, a game that is almost unrecognizable from launch. It's got NPCs now, the Brotherhood of Steel has shown up, there's build loadouts, legendary perks, and private worlds. And with those private worlds is a brand new update called Fallout Worlds, where Bethesda is seemingly handing us the keys to the proverbial kingdom. Here to tell us all about that is Mark Tucker and Bo Buchanan from Bethesda Game Studios. Gentlemen, hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's Texas. We have to say howdy. Sorry.
Yeah, howdy.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm in California. We don't do a lot of howdies here, although I do say y'all a lot, so.
There you go. See it in your family.
So for the uninitiated, Bo, can you give us a rundown on exactly what Fallout Worlds is?
Sure. Fallout Worlds, with the latest update, is the ability to have your own custom server. Mm-hmm. So we are adding two different things to the game. One of them is custom servers, one of them is public worlds. Both of them are being able to add your own world settings. And basically, we've added a lot of knobs, split progression, and a bunch of other things so that you can kind of tell your own story and decide how you want the experience to be. So with public worlds, we're going to kind of curate custom worlds for everyone, regardless of Fallout First or not. You can come play that. We have lots of them available, whether it's a Happy Builder world that increases your ability to build things. Dweller Must Die is kind of like an in-the-dark, horror-y, more difficult world. Everybody can come play those. We're going to rotate through them right now. We're going to do one a month. We'll see what the community wants with that, whether they want it more often, less often. What happens with all of this stuff is you can immediately import your adventure character onto them. Mm-hmm. So you can just pick up exactly where you want and start playing in a Fallout world, but nothing comes back, right? Because we're letting you change all these crazy settings and do all these things. We want to give people as much power as we can in the long term. You can never affect kind of the adventure game and the main game or your achievements, score, those kind of things.
Yeah, so with the public worlds, let's touch on that first. Okay, so it's like a playlist, right? It's like Happy Builder, and there's a few other things. Yeah. What happens to that? You guys said you wanted to switch them out about once a month, correct?
Yeah, we're planning on trying to have one, rotating them out every month, yeah.
So what happens to the progress on that world? You know, Happy Builder, I build this giant base, and then you guys switch the mode over. What happens to that base I built on Happy Builder mode?
Right now, the best way to think of the public worlds is kind of like an extended event. It's more like a thing you can come in and try, and you can see what different ways you can play. You can see what kind of play styles there might be. You can see the things that Fallout Worlds has to offer you, and then you can just try them out for free and play on them. But the progression goes away whenever the world does. So then when the next world comes along, you could start over again from wherever you were in adventure, and then you can play that one for a month, and then the next adventure kind of goes around with the next public world. At any moment, I highly recommend people to get some friends, get Fallout First on one of you, and then go make your own custom world where y'all can control the settings you want, and then your progression is on that world for as long as it exists.
All right, so I have Fallout First, now I just need friends. Got it. What compelled you guys to basically give people dev tools to Fallout 76? Like, the game's been out for 3 years now, and you're like, all right, now we're going to give people all these tools to do like infinite ammo and stuff like that. What compelled you guys to do that 3 years in?
Well, I mean, it's, I guess in some ways, we're staying true to our roots, right? I mean, when you think about BGS games, all BGS games have been really good about providing, our community, our players with tools to make the experiences that they want in our game worlds. And so that's kind of the idea. Our game has a lot of unique challenges, and the complexity is quite high, being a multiplayer game. So there's a lot of things that a lot of problems we had to solve to get to this point. So it's taken us a while to get there, and obviously we've been busy doing a lot of other things over the last 3 years too.
Right.
But when you get down to it, it's really I'm gonna say something Bo said the other day. We're trying to capture the spirit of the modding community with this, right? We want to give players the opportunity to craft their own experiences and sort of redefine the rules in the game. And this was a great way for us to move in that direction for 76.
Yeah, that's something I actually wanted to ask about. So modding is a big thing in Fallout, and this is kind of like your guys' way. We've seen mods with Fallout 4 where it's like build anywhere and no limits to building. You guys are kind of building that in. Is Private Worlds kind of our first step into being able to mod Fallout 76?
So I'll answer this one. So with Fallout Worlds, especially this release of it, I always internally call this one the framework. It's called Fallout Worlds Framework a lot of time internally. And we spent a lot of time working on Fallout Worlds and a lot of time trying different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and trying to come up with a package and a way for our players and community to play it and not get really confused. Right. If you've ever dealt with mods in games, you have to know like the order to load them and what's going on, and they break and they don't work and you might corrupt your game and all these other things. So in 76, you don't just have a save, you can go reload at any time. It's a live online game. So we spent a lot of time building and thinking about the right way to set up a platform that people can engage in, they can jump in and immediately get some benefit out of, and kind of start creating a safe place for these kind of customizations. And in the future, we hope to leverage that to kind of expand down that line and seeing what we can do. But the big note is it's still an online game. And there's still a lot of players that play it that, we need to make sure that we don't just kind of kill their experience because someone wants some specific type of mod or other things. So we're trying to find the right way to do that. How do we build it the right way for 76? And hopefully this is one of the first steps.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of options. And I have a few ideas for some I would like to be added. The first thing I wanted was infinite sprint. Infinite sprint's not on there. Being able to run faster is also not on there. Those are just ideas that I have. You can write those down or something like that.
It was actually on there. We had to turn it off. Because there are limitations to games. That happened to be one, was the infinite sprint. Maybe it'll see time in the future, but it was one of the ones that we had to kind of box for a bit.
Sure.
Yeah,
so
surprisingly, that breaks our game.
Being able to run forever.
You chose the one that's going to break the game. Good job.
Yeah. Sure. It's my favorite too. I want to run forever.
That's awesome.
I do appreciate the getting rid of AP drain when jumping though. That's kind of because I don't know, I jump a lot and I just see my AP draining, so that being gone is great. So for people like me that instantly, this is how it works. You log in, you see all these options, and then your mind starts going and you're like, well, this isn't enough. So are you guys taking feedback for all these crazy ideas people are certain to have?
Oh yeah,
we take feedback from everywhere.
And you guys plan on like maybe updating it later, or
that's a lot of it.
Oh yes, we are. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't in that meeting.
A lot of what we're a lot of what helps guide our decisions on what we do next is feedback from our community and fans, right? So, first step is we gotta get this out there, get it in front of everybody. And, it's this, a feature like this is going to take time just to get our fans, like get their heads wrapped around it. Right. I mean, Bo and I have been talking about this, like we're excited to see what they come up with, like, cause there's so many different permutations of combinations of settings, like, and where people are going to take this, we can't possibly predict. Like just seeing what our players do with building of camps in our game is remarkable. They've done stuff that we would have never anticipated or guessed, right? So this kind of feature is in that same vein, right? They're gonna find some wacky combinations that we didn't even anticipate, and then we'll go from there. We're gonna get their feedback. They're gonna ask for things. Like we have a community team that's constantly, getting their feedback and communicating with them online. We get a lot of feedback from our public test server. So there's a lot, and we also collect a lot of data, right? So not only do we listen, but we can also see what they're doing. And so that's going to help guide where we take this in the future.
Speaking of collecting data, so that's something I wanted to ask about was, let's say a billion people, you guys have a billion players, right? They all make a private world, and and no matter what they choose, they make it where you have no AP drain on jumping, right? That's something you guys notice, is that's the first thing everybody turns off. Maybe not that one specifically, but do you guys picture yourselves seeing what people are doing with these private worlds and possibly even maybe moving that over to the main game, where it's like, hey, nobody wants AP drain when they jump, so let's just make that part of Fallout 76. People hate this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of working on an online game like this. We continue to change and modify and evolve it. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing like, if we see, consistent behavior and get a lot of feedback on something, like, I'm not going to say we wouldn't do that. Absolutely, would consider changing that. I mean, I think, hopefully our record shows that we're willing to make some pretty significant changes to existing systems. We completely modified and changed how the hunger thirst system works, so it's not punitive, but it's more of a bonus system. So there's a lot of things that we're willing to adjust and change to improve the player experience for everybody. So yeah, like, maybe hopefully I'm not sparking like some kind of new Reddit trend where everybody's going to jump in and like pick one thing, and suddenly we're going to be Bo's like,
Exactly.
yep.
Turns out nobody wants to pick up ammo anymore. We all
ammo,
want
infinite ammo.
We never want to reload. We want it to just shoot forever. We want to be able to jump 3 stories into the air.
I mean, along those lines, I will say that Tucker and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, right? So it's always funny when we have these conversations, because everyone's like, what about X? And we're like, yeah, we've talked about that a lot. So one of the things that we can do with a tool like this is we can try out stuff to see how the game behaves with it. And we can try out stuff to see how users use it without having to put it in the main game and live with it forever, right? So something that might affect things in a way that we can't predict, this is a way where we can actually look to see, how does it do? What does it do? Do we want to put it in the main game? No, it needs to stay here. And you were asking earlier about, like, are we going to expand settings on those? We added, I think, 30-ish at launch, which is a lot of settings. And we kind of had to start slapping our own hand and saying, okay, no, that's enough. Like, no, we can't add any more, because we kept wanting to add more. Like, we're all gamers. Sure. We all love doing this stuff. I've got a list of like 200 brainstormed ideas that I only add to with all the stuff the community's coming up with. Because, we watch all the videos and read all the threads, and we have people that their entire job is getting this feedback to us. And our community comes up with great ideas that we like. I love that they have a wand. They're like, just do this. It should take you like a week. And we're like, how long would that take? Well, it's way longer than a week, but still a good idea.
Infinite running, it sounds easy, but apparently
infinite
it's
running.
not.
I tell you, we did it. I put it in and I had to remove it. There's been a lot of things like that.
It's like, what could go wrong? Well, sadly, a few things go wrong with it, but it's the Bo's
But if you
point,
haven't tried
maybe
infinite
one day.
vats, you should try infinite vats, because that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Well, what I picture is I kind of want to make my own like story mode where it's like I can play through the quest without the, that's why I want it to be able to run forever. But stuff like, like I said, no jumping AP drain and infinite vats. And now there's difficulty options. So if you want, you could put it on easy if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. The first one I tried, and I had messed around with so many settings. I had turned on the proximity spawner and I had the game on hard, and I didn't understand what was happening. I just was like dying all the time. And I'm like, where are these dogs coming from? And I like went to my camp, and then there's robots surrounding me. And I'm like, dude, what is this? So I go back through and I'm like, oh, player proximity spawner.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have started with that. Yes. Yeah, right. That's what that means. I looked up what proximity meant, and I was like, got it. All right, there it is. So final question, the PTS says, and this is kind of a mod thing, right? Is like, it says, depending on what you do with the game, it could alter the performance of the game. Now, yes, Fallout 76 does run on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Are you guys worried about people getting a little too out of hand with building, and like someone logs into the PS4 version, like a base PS4 version, it just like is running at like 10 frames a second? Or do you guys have something in place just in case to stop that from happening?
So our statement in general. And I love having like pillars on things, right? Where it's just like, hey, if you're thinking about an answer for something, you should have a little guiding statement for you. And one of those with Worlds has always been kind of let players make mistakes, right? Give them the power to choose what they want to do. So as long as you're not causing long-term corruption, as long as you're not like affecting other players that didn't opt into it, as long as you're not doing something like that, we're trying to let people choose what they think is acceptable, right? So like the big one is we've talked to a lot of builders that are like, I don't care if I have 5 frames a second, if I'm building a huge thing, I just want to be able to build this huge thing that I want to see, take a picture of, and be able to do it. Right. So like if you're doing that by yourself on your own server and you're not affecting other people and you're okay with that, we'd like to give you the opportunity to be able to do that. And we can't guarantee it on every situation you might have, but it's up to you. If it's not working, then just lower the setting down a little bit. That's one of the reasons why like on public worlds, you'll see there's like a like partially relaxed for happy builder versus like the full relaxed on your custom world. It wasn't that we were trying to get you to go buy Fallout first and we wanted to play that. It was that with public worlds, they're available for everyone, right? Like you can step in and do this, and you don't really have a choice of what the setting is. So we put those on so that some of the more lower frame rate areas potentially in the world, you can't put a camp on because some people might not be able to handle that. But if you're on your own world and you've opted into that and you're with your buddies and you want to put a camp in the middle of White Springs or something like that, go for it, right? Like you chose to do that one. And we want to support that. We want players to be able to make choices like that and do the cool things they want because they're worth it for them.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out starting today because Fallout Worlds is out now. Congrats on the launch, guys. And I'm sure you'll be watching very closely to see what the community does to your game. Thanks for talking with us and telling everybody about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Remember, Fallout Worlds is available in Fallout 76 on all platforms, so you can check all this out for yourself right now. Let us know what you think of Fallout Worlds in the comments below, and for everything else Fallout 76, stick with IGN.